If the secret to transforming your life isn't a big grand gesture, but something as tiny as 1%. Sounds crazy, right? But get this, if you improve just 1% each day for the year, you end up 37 times better by the time you're done. On the flip side, get 1% worse each day and you practically hit zero. Small habits, it turns out, compound massively over time. Don't believe it? Just ask the Britain cycling team. In 2003, they were laughably bad. No Olympic golds in nearly 100 years, and not a single Tour de France win. One bike company even refuses to sell bikes to them because it feared hurting its brand. Ouch. Then the new coach came in with a radical idea. Make tons of tiny 1% improvements everywhere. They redesigned bike seats, wipe the dust off bike parts, even taught riders the best way to wash their hands. Little changes, big difference. Fast forward 5 years. At the 2008 Olympics, Britain won 60% of the cycling gold medals, and soon after, British cyclists won the Tour de France multiple times, all because of those atomic habits, the tiny changes that lead to remarkable results. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Richard Talk. Today we are breaking down Atomic Habits by James Clear, a first best-selling book that's taken the self-improvement world by storm. This book is all about how small daily habits can compound into life-changing outcomes, and it's packed with practical tips on how to build good habits and break bad ones. If you ever struggle to stick with New Year's resolution or wonder why some people make self-improvements look so easy, stick around. We are going to cover the core ideas of atomic habits in a fun, casual way. No fluff, no academic jargon. By the end, you will know all about the 4 laws of behavior change, how your environment affects your habits, what habit stacking is, why focusing on your identity might be the game changer you need, and a bunch more. Let's dive in. James Clear kicks off Atomic Habits with one big idea. Don't underestimate the power of small improvements. We often convince ourselves that success requires huge, dramatic actions, a radical diet, a marathon training plan, an all-nighter to crack out a project. But in reality, habits add a compound interest of self-improvement. Just like money multiplied through compound interest, the effects of how habits multiply as you repeat them. It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of tiny improvements on the daily basis. Those little 1% gains don't seem much more in the moment. Often, they are not even noticeable. But over months and years, they become absolutely astonishing powerful. Think about that British cycling example. No single tiny change made them champions overnight, but dozens of small percent wins added up to the world-class success. As Clear puts it, what starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more over time. This is great news for us because it means we don't need to make huge leaps to improve our lives. We just need to consistently execute small habits and trust the process of compounding. He gives a memorable example. Imagine an ice cube in a cold room. It's freezing, say 25 Fahrenheit. You heat the room to 26 Fahrenheit, 27 Fahrenheit. The ice is still frozen. And 28, 29, still nothing. 30, 31, the ice hasn't changed one bit. Then you hit 32, 33, boom, the ice starts to melt. Was it that 1 degree that did it? Of course not. It was the accumulation of all those little temperature increases before. Habits often work the same way. You might not see results at first, but persistence leads to the breakthrough. This is what Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. The early work is stored energy waiting to be released. So if you are frustrated not seeing progress, don't quit. Your ice cube moments could just be around the corner. The takeaway: Small habits matter a lot. Getting just 1% better might not be noticeable today, but it can lead to huge outcomes in the long run. And guess what? The same is true in reverse. Small bad habits, little one declines, can slowly accumulate into big problems. Skip the gym just this once. Eat junk food just today. None of those single decisions will ruin your life, but the compound effect might. Another big idea from Atomic Habits is this. Winners and losers often have the same goals. Every Olympic sprinter wants the gold medal. Every candidate wants the job. Goals in themselves are not usually what differentiates outcomes. It's the system, the daily habits, and the routines that make the difference. James Clear famously says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your system." In other words, setting ambitious goals is fine, but if you don't change the habits that actually drive results, you won't get anywhere. Think of it this way. A goal is your destination, but the system is the route you take every day to get there. If you are only obsessed with the destination, like I want to write a book or I want six packs abs, you'll get frustrated whenever progress is slow. But instead, you focus on the daily process, like I will write 500 words every day, or I'll exercise 30 minutes each day. You are focusing on the things you can control. Ironically, by focusing on the system instead of the goal, you actually get to the goal faster. Clear even notes that achieving a goal is a momentary change. If you sprint to meet a goal without building good habits, those results can slip away. But a system built on good habits is sustainable. So don't just set goals. Design a system of small habits that will gradually lead you to those goals. As Clear puts it, the problem isn't you. The problem is your system. If you keep failing to change, it's not because you don't want it bad enough. It's because your approach, your daily habits, routines, isn't set up to deliver the results you want. So fix your habits, and the outcome will fix themselves. And this might be my favorite insight from Atomic Habits. True behavior change is really identity change. Clear calls this identity-based habits. Here's what that means. We have three layers of behavior change: outcomes, process, and identity. Imagine them like layers of an onion. The outer layer is the outcomes. These are like your goals, like lose weight, write a book, win a championship. The middle layer is process, your habits and a system, like go to the gym, write every day, practice the sports. And the core, deepest layer is identity, your beliefs about yourself, like I'm an athlete, I'm a creative person, I'm the kind of person who never gives up. Most of us start with outcome goals and then maybe figure out the process to get there. But we rarely consider identity. Clear argues this is backward. We should start by defining the identity we want. For example, instead of I want to quit smoking, say I want to be a non-smoker. It's an identity. And instead of I want to run a marathon, think I'm a runner. When your desired habits become part of your identity, it's much more likely to stick. Here's why. If you believe I'm a healthy person, you'll feel weird about eating junk food because it's not who you are. Each salad you eat, each workout you do, is like casting a vote for that identity. And each time you skip it, that's a vote against. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Clear writes, you don't need a unanimous vote to win. You can slip up occasionally, but the more you stack up evidence in favor of your new identity, the more solid the identity becomes. So how do you build identity-based habits? Clear gives a two-step process. First, decide the type of person you want to be. Second, prove it to yourself with small wins. For example, if you want to be the fit person, which is identity. Start with a small win, like I will walk for 10 minutes after dinner. Something so easy you can do it and begin to feel like, hey, I'm the kind of person who doesn't just flop on the couch. I'm someone who stays active. Each small win is evidence. Over time, these small wins accumulate into a new identity. One cool story from the book. Two people are trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, the first said, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The second says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." See the difference? The second person identifies as a non-smoker, which reinforces the desired behavior far more strongly than just having a goal to quit. The lesson: embrace the identity of the person you want to become, even if it feels a bit fake at first. Every time you act in alignment with that identity, you are casting a vote and making it more real. To recap, outcomes are about what you get, processes are about what you do, identity is about what you believe, and identity is the foundation. Change your identity, how you review yourself, and your habits will follow. Before we jump into the 4 laws of behavior change, which is the actionable framework for building good habits and breaking bad ones, we need to quickly cover how habits actually work in the brain. Clear describes the habits formation process as a continuous feedback loop with 4 stages: cue, craving, response, reward. Cue. The cue is a trigger or prompt. It's something that gets your attention and initiates the behavior. It might be a visual trigger, like seeing a donut box, which cues you to want a donut. Essentially, the cue says to your brain, hey, here's a reward potentially here. Second, craving. The craving is the motivation or desire you feel to take action because of the cue. It's not the habit itself you crave, but the change in states it delivers. Example, the donut box triggers a craving for the sugary pleasure of eating a donut. Or your phone buzzes, which is a cue, and you crave the satisfaction of seeing who texts you. The third, response. The response is the habitual behavior you perform. This could be an action or even a thought. Whether your response depends on how motivated you are and how easy or how hard it is. If the cue and craving are strong and taking action is easy to do, you will do it. If it is too difficult, you might not. That's an important point for later. And the fourth is reward. The reward is the benefits you get from the action, satisfying the craving and teach your brain something. Rewards serve 2 purposes. First is satisfy your craving. The donut is great. The itch to check the text is relieved. And the second is teach your brain by reinforcing the behavior. If a behavior is rewarding, your brain learns. Oh, do that again next time. If it's not rewarding, the habit won't likely stick. So the loop of cue, craving, response, reward runs every time we do the habits, often without realizing. By adulthood, many habits run on autopilot. For example, you walk into the dark room, it's a cue, it's dark, and craving, desire to see, response, flip the light switch, and reward, room is lit. You did that all without thinking. Habits are your brain's way of shortcutting. If you do something and do it consistently, yields a reward. Your brain automates it to save efforts. Now, Clear's genius is he turns his understanding of the habits loop into the framework for changing habits. He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change. Essentially, 1 law for each stage of the loop. If you follow these 4 laws, you can create good habits more easily. And we can invert them to break bad habits. So let's go through them. James' Clear framework for building a good habit is make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. Each corresponds to 1 stage of the habit loop. First, cue, make it obvious. Craving, make it attractive. Response, make it easy. Reward, make it satisfying. And to break a bad habit, you do the opposite. Make the cues invisible. Make the craving unattractive. Make the response difficult. And make the reward unsatisfying. We will touch on these inversions as we go, but let's break down each law with examples so you know how to apply them. First, make it obvious. If you want to build a new habit, you need to notice it. So make the cues obvious and visible. Our environment plays a huge role here, often more than our motivation. If a cue is obvious, you are more likely to respond to it. If it's hidden, you'll forget or never even think about the habit. Practical way to make it obvious. Design your environment to expose you to good cues and reduce exposure to bad ones. For example, if you want to practice guitar more often, keep your guitar on the stand in the middle of your living room, not tucked away in a closet. If you want to eat healthier, put a bowl of fruits on your counter, not cookies. As Clear says, I don't know about you, but if I see a cookie sitting on the kitchen counter, then I'm going to eat it. Make it easier on yourself by removing unhealthy food from your view. Put healthier options like fruits and nuts on the kitchen counter. In short, make the cues of good habits obvious and the cues of bad habits invisible. So hide the junk food, remove the batteries from the game controller, whatever it takes. And habit stacking. This is a super useful technique. You take an existing habit that you already do and then attach new habits onto it. This uses the current habits as a cue for the new one. So it's like after I, current routine, I will, new habits. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The pouring coffee is something you already do each day, so it's an obvious cue. So trying meditation to it makes remembering to meditate much easier. You can chain habit together this way. For example, after I finish dinner, which is your current habits, I will immediately put my plates in the dishwasher, a new habit. So after that becomes routine, maybe you stack another. After I put a plate away, I will write in my journal for 5 minutes. Over time, you will create a routine stack. Habit stacking takes advantage of strong existing neural connections. By piggybacking on the habits that's already on autopilot, you create a clear cue for the new habits. The overarching idea, make the habit trigger as blatant as possible. Don't rely on sheer willpower to remember. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow so you can see it at bedtime. If you want to practice a language, stick post-it notes around your house with vocabs like environment cues. Our brain often defaults to what's obvious. As Clear notes, most of us respond the same way to the cues that surrounded us. If you see a cookie on the counter, you will probably eat it. So set up your surroundings so that the obvious thing to do is the good habits you want, and the bad habit cues are hidden. Breaking a bad habit tip. Make the cue invisible, out of sight, out of mind. If you are trying to cut screen time, keep your phone in another room and bury deep in a drawer. Trying to drink less alcohol? Don't keep beer in the fridge. Second, make it attractive, craving. The second law corresponds to craving, the motivation or desire. The more attractive, appealing a habit is, the more you want to do it. On the flip side, if you can make a bad habit seem unattractive, you will be less drawn to it. And how to make habits attractive? A few strategies. Temptation bounding. This is genius. Take something you need to do, like the habit that's good for you, but maybe not super fun yet, and pair it with something you want to do, the temptation. By compounding them, you make the habit more enticing. Example, only watch your favorite Netflix show while you are at the gym or on the treadmill. Suddenly, working out becomes more attractive because it's linked to your entertainment. Or tell yourself you can only drink your expensive gourmet coffee after you have spent 30 minutes studying. You are bounding a want with a should. The other is join a supportive culture. We are highly influenced by the people around us. If you can join a group or social environment where your desired behavior is the norm, it becomes very attractive to fit in. If you want to run, join a running club. If you want to start a business, hang out with these entrepreneurs. We naturally crave approval or belonging, so use that to your advantage. Being around people who have the habits you want makes you want to adopt them to belong. Plus, you will pick up tips and motivation from them. The other is reframe your mindset. Sometimes just seeing the positive side of habits makes it more attractive. Instead of I have to go to gym, tell yourself I get to go improve my fitness and mood. And instead of I have to cook, think I get to fuel my body with healthy food and save money. Sounds a little bit cheesy, but it works. You are pairing the habits with a positive feeling. And we are driven by rewards and feel good cues. If you make a habit feel enjoyable or even like something you want, you won't have to drag yourself to do it. Even starting a workout with your favorite energizing music can make it more attractive by pumping you up. So, breaking the bad habits, make it unattractive. Highlight the downside of your bad habits to yourself. Change your perspective. If you are trying to quit smoking, remind yourself how gross the smell is or how it stings teeth. Basically, focus on the negative aspects or envision the positive identity you want to see the bad habits as counter to that. For example, smoking is not what a healthy person like me does, so it feels less control or desirable. And third is make it easy. Response part. This might be the most practical law. Make the habit as easy as possible to do. Reduce friction, steps, efforts, etc. The idea here is to optimize the response stage. Even if you are motivated, if the action requires too much effort, you might abandon it. So engineering simplicity is key. And the tips to make habits easy. First is reduce friction. Every step between you and the habit is a chance to procrastinate. So knock these steps out. Want to go running in the morning? Lay out your running clothes, shoes, socks the night before. Then when you wake up, it's easy. Your gear is right there, staring at you. And want to eat healthier? Pre-cut veggies and fruits, and have them front and center in the fridge. Make unhealthy snacks hard to reach, or don't buy them. If you want to read more, keep a book in your bag or your bed. The fewer obstacles or excuses, the better. The 2-minute rule. Clear suggests any new habits should take less than 2 minutes to do at first. Essentially, scale down the habits to something that is so quick and easy, you can say no. This helps you to start, which is the hardest part. For example, if you want to start flossing, just commit to flossing one tooth. Sounds silly, right? But hey, once the floss is out, you will probably do more. And want to start running? For the first week, just put on your running shoes and step out the door for 2 minutes. Then come back. Make it so easy it's almost laughable. The point is to master the art of showing up. A real life story. One guy lost over 100 pounds by committing to go to the gym, but he wasn't allowed to stay more than 5 minutes at first. He would drive to the gym, do the few exercise, and leave. It sounds counterintuitive, but he was training the habit muscle, proving to himself he could show up consistently. Once it was ingrained, he naturally stayed longer and did more. But initially, he made it easy to build a routine. Automate when possible. Use technology or smart defaults to make habits easy. Want to save money? Set up an automatic transfer each month so you don't have to will yourself to save. It happens by default. Want to learn a language? Maybe set your phone interface to that language for immersion, etc. Remove human efforts where you can. Another piece here, volume versus motion. Clear warns against getting stuck in motion, planning, researching, learning, instead of actually doing action. We often procrastinate by over preparing, but the easiest way to build a habit is to just a crappy first version. For example, want to write? Just join down rough paragraphs. Don't obsess about getting a perfect pen or desk set up. That's motion. Focus on that action itself in its simplest form. So breaking a bad habits make it difficult. Add friction to your bad habits. If you play too many video games, unplug the console and put it in the closet after each use. The extra setup time will make you think twice. Or use apps that limit your social media time and make you wait through a 30-second lockout screen. Anything that adds effort to or delay can help. Basically, create speed bumps on the road of your bad habits. The fourth is make it satisfying, which is reward. Finally, the fourth law, habits stick when the experience is satisfying. Our brains are wired to repeat actions that feel good. So when you complete a habit, try to give yourself a reward or a sense of satisfaction immediately. The more instant and gratifying, the better, especially when you are establishing a habit. Ideas to make habits satisfying, like habit tracking. There's something oddly satisfying about checking a box or marking an X or a calendar every time you do your habits. It's a visual way to reward yourself. Jerry Seinfeld famously kept a joke calendar. He would put a big red X on the calendar for each day he wrote jokes, creating a chain of X. After a while, his goal was don't break the chain. That little visual streak was satisfying enough to keep him writing daily. You can do the same with any habits. Use a habit tracking app, a bullet journal, or even a jar of marbles, so you can drop one in each time you complete the habits. It feels good to see progress. It's like giving yourself a gold star. And the other is immediate rewards. Let's face it, many good habits have delayed rewards. Exercise now, get fit later in months, study now, get a degree next year. So to keep us engaged, attach a little instant reward to the habits. Maybe after each study session, you enjoy 10 minutes of your favorite video games guilt-free. After a workout, maybe treat yourself to the tasty protein smoothie or the hot shower with nice soap. Even just the feeling of accomplishment can be a reward. If you take a moment to acknowledge it, yes, I did do a little victory dance. The key is that the ending of your habit should feel positive in the moment. We are more likely to repeat things that feel immediately satisfying. And the other is never miss twice rule. This is a great strategy Clear suggested for maintaining satisfaction and momentum. It's inevitable you might miss a day or slip up. That's okay. Just commit that you miss it once. You will not miss twice in a row. Skipping one workout won't ruin you, but letting it become 2, 3, a habit of not doing it. That's where things snowball negatively. So if you miss the gym today, make sure you go tomorrow. If you broke your diet with a big dessert, shrug it off and make the next meal healthy. By catching yourself and succeeding the very next time, you get a satisfaction of knowing I got back on track, which reinforces your identity as a resilient person. Perfection isn't required, consistency is, and never missing twice keeps you consistent. It's surprisingly satisfying to overcome that little failure quickly. And the other is use accountability or a habit contract. For some habits, having a bit of social or financial stake can add satisfaction, or rather, make not doing it unsatisfying. For example, tell a friend about your goal and have them hold you to it. Or create a habit contract. Say, if I don't wake up by 6 a.m. every day. I have to pay $10 to my friend or do a funny punishment. Clear shares the story of someone who made a contract that if he skipped the gym, he'll have to pay his wife 100. You bet that made missing workouts quite unsatisfying. The point is, you create a consequence that make you feel bad if you fail, which by contrast makes succeeding and avoiding that consequence very satisfying. This isn't necessary for all habits, but it can work like a charm for certain ones. So putting the laws together. So those are the four laws. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. And they're opposite for breaking habits. The beauty is you can use these like a toolbox. Whenever you are struggling to stick with the habits, ask yourself, can I make the cue more obvious? Or if it's a bad habit, can I make the cue invisible? And can I make it more attractive? Or make a bad habit less attractive? Can I make it easier? Or make a bad habit harder? Can I make it more satisfying? Or make a bad habit unsatisfying? Chances are, a small tweak in one of these areas will help. For example, if you keep forgetting to take vitamins, put a pill bottle next to your coffee mug, so it's obvious cue solved. If you can't get yourself to write that book, maybe start a writing group, so it make it attractive with social encouragement. Or promise yourself a fun-sized candy bar after each chapter, which is temptation bundle reward. And if you find exercising too hard, the action cue, maybe you are trying to do too much. So you can scale it down, make it easy. Or try to form exercise that's more fun for you, make it attractive. If you keep backsliding on your diets, the reward issue, finding a way to make healthy eating immediately satisfying. Maybe a healthy food that you actually find delicious, or track your meal and give yourself praise for eating well. So by designing habits with these laws, you basically hack your brain's behavior loop in your favor. You're aligning your habits with human nature. We like easy, obvious, rewarding things, rather than fighting against it with sheer willpower. So let's wrap up. Tiny changes, remarkable results. We have covered a lot, so let's quickly recap the key points from Atomic Habits. First, small habits make difference. Improving by just 1% each day can lead to huge results over time. Habit compounds. For better or worse, so your daily choices really matter. Don't be discouraged by slow progress. Trust the progress and give those small changes time to snowball. Second, focus on system, not just goals. Set up a sustainable routine of good habits. Instead of obsessing over a big goal and nothing else, fix your habits, and your outcomes will fix themselves. Remember, you fall to the level of your systems. Third, identity-based habits. The most effective way to change your behavior is to change how you identify yourself. Decide who you want to be, and start proving it to yourself with small wins. Every action is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Habit loop and four laws. Habit consists of cue, craving, response, reward. To build good habits, make it obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. For breaking bad habits, invert those. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying. Use these as levers to tweak your behavior. The other, environment matters. Shape your surroundings so that good cues are obvious and bad cues are hidden. And the other, start small and optimize. Embrace the 2-minute rule. Make your habit so easy to start that you cannot say no. Master the art of showing up. You can build up from there. And finally, make it fun and rewarding. Find ways to enjoy your new habits. A habit that's satisfying will keep you coming back. Finally, Clear reminds us that big things comes from small beginnings. The book's subtitle is Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And it's spot on. You don't need to revolutionize your life overnight. In fact, you probably shouldn't. Just start with 1 or 2 atomic habits, tiny routines that maybe take 2 minutes, and watch them compound. It's like planting a small seed that eventually grows into the strong oak tree, or a beautiful garden. Give time and consistency. So, whether you are trying to get in shape, learn a skill, be more productive, or break a bad habits that's holding you back, remember the atomic habits approach. Patient and focus on the system, the daily process, and not just the price. Your habits shape your destiny. As one of Clear's quotes goes, success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformations. And the best part, these changes are accessible to anyone. You don't need to have Superman power, superhuman willpower. You just need a better system and a willingness to start small. That's a wrap up on our summary of atomic habits. I hope you find these insights as useful and empowering as I did. The idea that you have the power to change your life one tiny habits at a time is really encouraging. It's not always easy, but it is simple and doable. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to Richard Talk. Keep learning, keep growing by 1% every day. And I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.